Who do I have present?
Yeah, Kurt Agnostu on behalf of the mother, Shauna Ray.
Joe Chappell, guardian.
Jason Chappell, father.
Anyone else?
Is Sherry Farr here, the guardian ad litem?
That's what I'm looking for, and I do not see her yet. And we really need to have her present. And she's involved in a number of the cases, so I'm gonna wait a minute just to see if she joins. I'm going to recall that case and wait for Ms. Farr to join us on this matter, at least that I see. But let's go ahead and re-identify who it is that is present on this case.
Kurt Agnostu on behalf of the mother, Shauna Ray.
Jason Chappell, the father.
Joe Chappell, guardian.
Sherry Farr, the guardian ad litem.
All right, thank you. All right, this is the case that I was talking about and hadn't switched out of yet. And this is the one where the father is requesting visitation, supervised visitation. I don't know if anybody else has had an opportunity to review that.
Your Honor, the only thing I received from Mr. Chappell was an unsigned order to show cause. And I had responded to him saying that the order wasn't signed and it wasn't the proper process. I don't see a motion for visitation. I know that he's sent me some lab results.
Okay. Anybody else receive anything?
I received paper copies of a motion to go to court and a couple of UAs that had a seal for health records. It included a completion letter for dynamic dad parenting class, but I got served those as a paper copy.
Mr. Anagnostu, did you receive anything?
I received the same items that Ms. Chappell just mentioned. I believe it was a docket notice and some test results, I believe, showing compliance with the court's orders is what I vaguely recall I received from Mr. Chappell.
So, Mr. Chappell, it sounds like you got part of the documents served, but not all of the documents served, and the guardian ad litem has a right to all the same documents of what was filed, which I have is the motion for visitation, sealed personal health records, and a notice of hearing. And that's what got it on the docket. But we definitely need to make sure that everybody is served with everything that you file with the court. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So at this point, I'm going to find that not appropriate service was not made at this time and that we cannot hear it today. Mr. Chappell, you'll need to get a copy of your motion and renote it for hearing and get everybody a copy of the renote of the notice for hearing. If you already sent the motion and the personal or the health documents, I'm assuming the UAs, if you already sent those to somebody, then you don't need to resend. But if you, with doing a new notice, you do need to resend or send that to everybody. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have access to, let me ask you something. Do you have access to email?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask this. Can you scan things into your email?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask the other parties, would the other parties be okay if he emailed these documents to you?
I have no objection, Your Honor. Email works for me.
Ms. Farr?
Yes, Your Honor, that's the way we have been exchanging documents.
All right. And Ms. Chappell, are you okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Mr. Chappell, that seems to be the best way to do it, is do it by email, so you don't have to spend money doing it some other way. Okay.
Right, and what are the dockets that they need?
Well, pretty much what you already filed. So your motion, your personal health records that you filed, and your a new notice of hearing. And you'll need to file that new notice of hearing with the clerk's office so they know when you want to put it on, and then make sure that you get a copy to all the parties. So anything you file needs to go to all the other parties. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And also, Mr. Chappell, at least a week ahead of time, because I only received those labs from you this morning.
Yeah, those are the last 3 within the last month. So, yes.
All right. So with that, Ms. Farr, where are we with other things? Anything at this point?
I think we're just waiting for the evidentiary hearing in July.
Okay. All right.
So this matter can't just be reset for next week so he can re-email that information to Ms. Barr?
We potentially can, if he wants to make that request.
I would like to.
Any objections to that? If he gets his notice out today, set enough notice for the clerks if he gets it filed today. So make sure to get your notice filed right away, so it gets on the docket.
And I have to do that in Kelso?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then go ahead and email it out to the others. So next week is fine. Just get it sent out right away.
All right.
Okay. So
Okay.
Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and if we're just waiting for that evidentiary hearing, I can go ahead and just have this extended to then, if that works for everybody, so you don't have to keep coming back. I mean, obviously, we'll have the hearing next week if Mr. Chappell gets that filed. So do you want to do that, or is
Yes.
there to come back?
Yeah, I want to do that. I'll get it filed today.
This case, the last order in it was June of last year.
Well, we'll be doing it today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do an order extending. And let's see if I can get the date for your, looks like you have a evidentiary hearing on July 8 and a review hearing on July 11. So I think what I'll do is similar to another matter that I just handled. And if everybody's okay, just extend the emergency order to July 11. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Farr, are you okay with that?
Yes.
All right. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll do an emergency order to July 11. Meanwhile, Mr. Chappell, you know what you need to do, and hopefully you get that done. We'll see you next week.
Is it being noted that Shauna Ray is not attending these hearings? She hasn't been present for like 5 hearings.
Yeah. The clerk always notes. That's why I make sure of who's present. It's noted in the clerk's minutes of who's present and who isn't. So at this point,
Okay, thank you.
Her
well,
attorney,
I shouldn't say,
her
I
attorney
should
is
clarify.
present.
It's who's present, not who's not present. I'm sorry, Ms. Farr.
I'm sorry. I was just saying her attorney is present. Mr.
Right.
Angosto is her
Right, I understand that.
I was just saying.
So it's just identified as to who's present.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nothing more on that matter.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey.
Caroline
Right,
Ignacio on behalf of the petitioning party, Marion Barrett.
John Sasaki for respondent father, Michael Erickson.
Michael
Don
Erickson,
Diesel
the
here
father.
on behalf of the mother, Georgia Wooldridge, who's also present by Zoom.
Okay.
Georgia Wooldridge, the mother.
All right. And as I asked at the beginning, I would ask that you please turn on your videos.
And Marion Barrett, Mickey Flynn's grandma and guardian.
Okay.
And Sherry Farr, the guardian ad litem.
All right, so where are things at this point?
If I may, we have a trial setting set for June 5th. And in the meantime, I've been trying to increase visits or virtual visits for father, my client, from 1 month to once every other week, pending Ms. Barr's conversation with the reunification counselor. However, despite multiple attempts, the counselors just aren't getting back to Ms. Barr, and Ms. Barr can correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the two items that I had to bring up today.
That's correct. The reunification counselor's office has still not returned my call, but I have talked with Flynn's other counselor who has expressed some concerns about increasing any visitation time because Flynn is having some pretty severe behavior incidents after he has had contact with either parent.
All right, so on April 25th, let me get back to that. At that point, I did decline to increase visitation and that the visitation remain as current. And then the matter be set for trial, or hearing. With that in mind, I'm not inclined even at this date, understanding the request. So anyone else have anything to say on that?
Your Honor, Donald Esau for Georgia Woldridge. Just wanted to update the court that Miss Woldridge is in several counseling type of activities. She's attending domestic violence classes. She has a domestic violence counselor. She also is in a parenting class. And she's still trying to get her first visitation with Flynn. So, and that's possibly a problem because of the reunification counselor that everybody's having a hard time getting a hold of. So,
right. Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I do have an appointment tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. your time with the reunification counselor.
Okay.
In Flynn.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Mr. Anastasia?
Yeah, just on behalf of my client, she would confirm the significant issues she observes in Flynn after the phone calls with so far with the father, and the need for counseling following that.
Okay. All right. Ms. Farr, what are your thoughts at this point?
My thoughts are that I don't think anything should change I just don't think anything should change right now.
Okay.
I'm concerned for Flynn. He has some severe behavior issues, and they come hours after, usually the same day, but hours after contact. And he hasn't had any direct contact with mother, but if he receives a package in the mail or when he has had some contact with father, he starts thinking about things, and then he has some violent reactions later in that afternoon.
Huh. All right. Well, I think anybody else?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may, and I respect the court's determination to keep the status quo if that's the case, but I also just wanted to make a point that it's also important, to maintain contact, at least virtually, between the parents and the minor. And that, despite Flynn's reaction to those visits, it's very important to at least attempt to make, more efforts for unification.
The court understands that, and the court understands the need for to have contact, but it needs to be timed right. If it's not timed right, it's more devastating to that child, more harmful to that child, not in the best interest of that child, and that's what the court is seeing at this time. So with that in mind, the court is not going to change the prior ruling. It will remain a status quo. The matter set for, you said June 5th?
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't believe, well.
That's the trial setting date.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, I didn't think we had the trial actually set. That's the date to get the trial. Yeah.
That's correct. That's the trial setting
hearing. That makes
hearing.
a little more sense. Okay.
Perfect.
All So unfortunately, we'll just kind of have to keep going forward as we've been doing and see how things go. I'd like to hear what date or week you're looking at. I know we're looking at, when I was doing trial settings yesterday, it's pretty booked as to what's getting set. So unfortunately, I don't think it will be anytime real soon. So let's go ahead and if June 5th, how about, I'm looking at maybe June 20th, just for a review, about a month out.
I will be out of the country that week, Your Honor.
Okay. How long are you out, Mr. Anagnostou?
Oh, the 27th.
Okay. Week after that. So how about July 11th for a review?
No objection, Your Honor.
That's fine with me.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, hearing no objections, I'll go ahead and set a review to July 11th with the idea that meanwhile the trial will be set, and then we'll go ahead and if there's something that needs to be dealt with prior to that, you certainly can note it up. But meanwhile, we'll just keep where we're at and then go from there. I would ask, you're the petitioner's attorney, Mr. Anagnostou, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you go ahead and do an order extending out to that date?
To the July 11th, you want it?
Yes, please.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
That's the emergency.
Yeah, that's the emergency order that needs extended.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's what we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honor. Amanda Holder here on behalf of Courtney Counselor, the petitioner for guardianship.
Melissa Royer here, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Sherry Farr, the guardian ad litem.
Casey Lane on behalf of the state for child support, Your Honor.
Right. So my understanding was that this matter was resolving. Is that correct, Ms. Holder?
That is correct, Your Honor. We are not quite ready at this hearing for a presentation of orders. At the last hearing, the court advised that it would like a proof of service for a minor in this case as she turned 12 during the pendency of this matter. We filed the proof of service for Allie yesterday with the court on May 22nd. So we were just waiting for further guidance on where the court would like to go now. As a refresher, the father has been served. He has not objected. The guardianship mother originally objected. She's dropped her objection. She is here presently. We have served quite a number of tribes. About 2/3 of the tribes have responded at this time. We would like to proceed and move forward. If any of the tribes have an objection at a later date, they are free to do so. It would not infringe upon their sovereignty. I believe everything is now in place to approve of the guardianship, but we would like the court's guidance about next steps.
Ms. Farr, in regard to a child that turns 12 in the middle of it, have you had a conversation with that child at all about whether they want an attorney or not?
Actually, I have not since she turned 12. I should do that.
Okay. All right. If you could do that, I would appreciate it. That's one thing that needs to get done. Meanwhile, I think you just go ahead and move forward. And then if we need to get an attorney for the 12-year-old, then we can do that and, just not finalize it until that part of it gets done.
Okay.
Ms. Looney, is there anything that's needed from your office or department?
No, Your Honor, we have proposed final child support orders already with the court. We're just waiting for the rest of the final orders so that we can have a chance to review them.
Okay. All right. All right. So Ms. Holder, I'm thinking that we probably need to go ahead and just set this over a couple of weeks so that we can see whether or not the child wants an attorney or not. And if they do, then we need to get an attorney on board right away. And then that'll really be the only issue other than seeing where you're at.
Absolutely. How far out would you like to set this, Your Honor?
So I'm looking at, why don't we, how about June 6th? Does that work for everybody?
That works for me, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, that works for me.
It works for the state as well.
All right, Ms. Holder, can you prepare an order extending?
Yes, Your Honor. And at the June 6th hearing for clarification, if Ms. Alley not want an attorney, we can move ahead with the full petition. What would Your Honor, and with coordination between myself and Ms. Farr, what would the court like to see at the June 6th hearing?
Well, if you have everything finalized, then I'm just looking for the final, if they're agreed paperwork.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Children, that concludes that matter.
Unmute yourself.
Okay, it's unmuted. Yes.
Okay, who do we have present?
James Latham.
I would ask for those that are talking right now, please not talk unless you're addressed, other than I need to know who is on the Aycock home matters.
We have James Lato and Alicia Marshall Renner.
We have Rick Haycock, the father.
All right. Anybody else?
Sherry Farr, the guardian item or court visitor on this one, I think.
Okay. All right. So, sir, take off your hat. I didn't realize you had your hat on.
Sorry about that. I just
No worries. I know.
that.
Well, we're on Zoom, but I still require it. All right. So Ms. Farr, how are things going? What are you seeing at this point?
Your Honor, I have to apologize. I've been ill and I have not had a chance to contact any of the parties yet.
All right. So obviously we need to have that done. And so that said, I don't have anybody have anything else they wanted to add or say at this point?
I would just make sure that Mrs. Farr did get my message with my info.
Remind me, how did you send that to me?
I called your number that we got last court date and left it in a voicemail for you.
Okay, I'll go back through my voicemails. I don't recall, but let me give you my number. Well, you have it if you've called me. Just if you want to just give me a call again.
Okay, can I verify real quick? It's just the 360. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. Ms. Farr, what are you thinking as far as time that you need then?
I think 2 weeks, June 6th would be, I'll make phone calls, get interviews set up for next week.
All right, does that work for everyone, June 6th?
Works for me.
I believe so.
Okay. All right, that's what I will do is I will go ahead and continue this matter over to June 6th at 10:30. Hopefully you feel better, Ms. Farr. All right, that takes care of that matter. So I think we're filing everything into the 107 matter. So who do we have present?
Good morning, Your Honor. Tom Lee for the respondent father.
Joshua Harris, father.
Victoria Harris, stepmom.
Alice Harris, mother.
All right.
Where's my name?
Donald Esau here for the mother.
And Sherry Farr, the guardian ad litem.
Angela Brown, grandmother.
All right. So hold on. So the one thing that I saw that was missing or is that I didn't see, unless I know it was filed in one case, but not the other. I did not see that Angela Brown had filed a petition for minor guardianship. The emergency one, yes. The minor guardianship, no. So Ms. Brown, are you intending to do that?
I don't know what the difference is, I guess.
I'm pretty sure, I thought she did, because I walked her through all the steps. It might have been under the wrong case number. It should have been filed under the 107.
Because I know that everything that was sent to me, I filed, and I did.
And Your Honor, I helped her serve those documents, so.
Okay, let me look again. I have co-petitioner Angela Brown, but that's the emergency minor guardianship.
Under the 130 case number, that one.
So I think under the 130
Okay.
is, yeah, that it was filed on April 9th.
Unfortunately, I just have the 2 cases because we were going, so in the 130, okay. Somehow we're going to have to.
Yeah, and we talked about refiling these documents under 107. And I was going to help her do that, but did you want us? I don't know how to do that. Just put a cover sheet on it and file it under the new case number.
That what she should do?
She just like get copies of what's currently in 130. She's saying
She wants to move it because my understanding is we're supposed to use 107. So since she filed in the 130, does she need to just make a copy or print out a copy and put a face sheet on it and file it in 107?
I think that would be fine as long as the confidential information form still has, because the 107 as Victoria as a petitioner, if she just includes her on the LE, or not the LE, but the confidential information form, everything can go into the 107. But that doesn't mean that she's going to be the guardian. She's just an involved party in the case, but in this case, she's a petitioner. And
Okay.
Angela's the current guardian.
In the 107.
Yes, because the new case she started, she didn't include Victoria,
Okay.
which is why it had to be a new case, because the parties have to be the same.
Okay. So sounds like yes to your question.
Okay.
And the confidential information sheet also needs to include which person?
Victoria Harris. Or
Victor-
Megan. She goes by Megan. I think.
Victoria Harris. Doesn't mean that she's a petitioner too, just needs to include it because I believe that was her original case.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the co-petitioner.
And
So a
Your
new
Honor,
confidential information sheet and then refile everything under 130 into 107 with a cover page.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lee?
yes, and just for the court's records as well, I cross-referenced my file with the Odyssey file, and 130, the case we were just discussing, has both a emergency minor guardianship petition from Mrs. Brown and a minor guardianship petition. I didn't know if the clerk had notified, but I just wanted to make sure all parties were aware that both of those into 24 filed.
Right, thank you. All right, so with that, and my determination that she would be, once that petition gets filed, it seems most appropriate, either the parties are going to do consents or the matter needs to get set for trial. So that's really where it's at this point. We don't need to keep doing review hearings. So I don't know, Ms. Farr, if you've had any chance to talk to anybody to see, since it is Ms. Brown, if that's where they're at, maybe is our consents or not.
Well, both mother and father have attorneys. I believe they're still objecting. And I have interviewed everybody multiple times. So I think you're right. If the parents are still objecting, then we just need to set for trial.
Okay.
Ms. Brown's done everything that she's supposed to do. She's filed all of her required documents.
All right. Counsel, anything from you?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, Tom Lee for the father here. I don't think my client necessarily is objecting to, based on my communications, the minor guardianship. I think today my client and I were under the impression that we were just going to have a review hearing, basically solidifying the court's previous orders. So what I might suggest today to Mr. Esau and Ms. Farr is that we just continue this 1 week or so that that we can discuss whether or not there are indeed consents, and based on the existing orders, if we're going to go from there. But that's my take on things right now, Your Honor.
Counsel, Mr. Esau.
I agree with Mr. Lee. That sounds like a good idea. I think we were at the first hearing, we were headed down the road of consents, but we haven't had that discussion because we're waiting for the petition. So I need to get a copy of that and then discuss it with my client. So
Okay.
1 week sounds great.
Okay. All right, Ms. Brown, does that work for you?
So I'm confused because I don't know what a consent means. I don't know what any of that even means. So all I know is that I've been doing supervised visits with mom and dad, and Maya is still here, and I don't know what the next step. I guess I don't know what a consent means. Like, what does that mean?
So I have to be careful because I can't give you legal advice. I can only give general information. But we've talked about what the documents that need to get over into the other file because we're filing in the 107 matter. And at this point, the question is whether or not the parents are going to consent to you being the guardian or whether the matter needs to go to trial.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm fine with whatever their lawyers decide or the children decide. I just want, am I going to continue doing supervised visits, and when will our next meeting be at for a Zoom?
So that's where they were talking about just setting it over 1 week to see whether or not the parents want to consent or not.
Okay.
And 1 week we'll check in. If they both consent, then final papers can get done. If the parents do not want to consent, then the matter needs to go on to a trial setting docket to get set for trial.
Okay.
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 All right.
So next Thursday.
So we'll set it over 1 week for them to talk to their clients, and then we'll go from there.
All right. That sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So in all of this, we did supervised visits for Alice, the mom, Joshua, the son, or the dad. And then we had like on my availability for Megan, Victoria, and or Maya Dean. So my question was, Maya Dean is getting ready to move like in less than a month, and she could be a huge resource for me for my weekends. And I was wondering if that has to be a continued supervised situation.
Without Ms. Farr talking to people, what I would suggest is why don't you bring it up in a week? Talk to Ms. Farr a little bit so she can talk to you a little bit about what needs to get done on the documents in 130. And then these other folks, it's really the parents that have the priority here. And so if it's becoming too much as far as everybody else wanting to see the child, that's great. I've said it before. It's great that the child has so many people that want to love that child. At the same time, I don't want to see it so overwhelming for you or the child, and having to arrange for this and that and everything else. Right now, the priority are the parents.
It isn't about a visit. It's about, I work every weekend and my mom's 75 and she's now taking care of 2 little ones. It would be nice for her to be able to have a reprieve.
Okay.
So that I'll talk to Sherry about possibly Maya being able to be watched by another grandma, maybe once or twice before she leaves.
So, Ms. Brown, just in the interest, if you could coordinate, as Judge Haan was saying to you, if you could just coordinate with Ms. Farr and Mr. Esau and myself to address some of these things, that's really where we need to discuss it, not at today's hearing, because basically we've just continued today's hearing. So, yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just trying to figure things schedules out.
All right, so talk to Ms. Farr about the things that you need to, and then I'm going to be looking for Ms. Farr's input because I know we had a guidance report, and there was some real concerns in regard to Ms. Dean that are concerning to the court. So,
okay, that's understandable. Like I said, I was just kind of thinking about schedules and
sure, okay. All right,
Stuff
we're going
like
to set this over to May 30th.
All right.
At 10:30.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, where are things at this point? I know service was a question of mine.
She was served
I don't know, it's been more than 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, so I am seeing,
Both parents were
Eight-
served. Mother was served on the 18th of April and father was served on the 2nd of April. Looks like we don't have any responses. Everything else has been completed, so we probably could move forward with motion for default and enter the finals.
okay. All right, so that is up to the guardian at this point to proceed forward with that. So I think what I'll do is set this out for a couple of weeks to let you do the paperwork that you need to do and get that paperwork served that needs to be served. And talk to Ms. Farr as far as what she's talking about. And then we can look at doing final papers.
What papers are there that I need to do? I thought I had filled some out.
And we're talking about the next step here, which is what we're talking about as far as a default, motion for default, and an order on default. And then if that's entered, then final papers can be entered.
And who do I have to serve?
So
Ms. Archer, I'll help you with that, all of that.
I'm very limited on what I can give you advice on. Okay.
So, okay.
All right. So that's what, at this point, I'll go ahead and just set it over to June 6th at 10:30. And maybe at that point, we can look to finalize it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.